then, of course, CPS has been under investigation because of their sometimes atrocious actions.
Many times atrocious actions. They're more atrocious than they are helpful.
In many ways, I would agree with you. I don't think that we can completely abolish them. I know that that's popular among some people, but there are cases, I've talked with judges and other people that have seen things down the road. I don't think there's a lot of people that would say for the complete abolition of CPS, though I know the feelings because CPS helped to destroy my family. But at the same time, there's got to be reform and they've got to be accountable. There cannot be, CPS caseworkers cannot get away with lying. And I would also like to see that if a hospital reports you to CPS, if they need to do that, that's fine. But at least let them take credit for that rather than letting me get blamed for it and destroying a family. But Jody, you mentioned some of the videos of people that I've done. The only thing that the only thing I can say is that I'm trying to, at this point, for me to say, what can I do to help make sure that these things don't happen to my kids and my grandkids in the future, and to try to get people to understand these are happening to good people all over the place. And I've put up a few videos about you because your situation has been horrendous with the parental kidnapping that you underwent and Echo. And there's one video with Joshua and Jessica Jones that I put out there, and I thought, I don't know who Joshua and Jessica Jones are, but I was driving across, I gave them a call, and Jessica said, come on over. I interviewed them. Well, then Stephen Krasner for the Huffington Post has been writing some outstanding articles on the broken system. He used one of the videos for the basis of his article. And I think that you just try to put something out there to say, maybe 90% of what you do is not going to make an impact, but maybe 10% will, maybe 15%, maybe just by saying something. I've been surprised how many times that I've spoken to people that I've had people come to me and say, we've been through this. At work, I was speaking to 3 people, and 3 people have said, we know exactly what you're talking about. I was talking with somebody earlier this week, and he said, I know exactly what you're talking about. So there's people all over the place, but there's a lot of silence about the issue. I think we need to break the silence and do what we can to make some changes. So that's kind of where I am.
Go ahead, Randall.
On the issue of breaking the silence, okay, I mean, I do the same thing, and what do you think we should do? How do you think we should address that awareness and breaking the silence? Because, I mean, face it, when you're going through this, the only story is gloom, doom, and poverty.
Right.
And,
right.
And the adage of 60 years of, well, he must have done it, or she must be a bad mother, or, and how do we get this awareness to where people actually want to listen? Because they don't want to listen the way the message has been coming out.
Right. That is a very good question. Because, most people kind of nod or are sympathetic until it happens to them. And, Randall, I probably was much the same way, I'm not saying that I would necessarily think the person is a bad person, but once it happens to you and you realize how bad it is, that's when you start to say something. And I think that the only thing we can do, I mean, there are other people that are much more involved in this, much better than I am. I figure I've got a hammer, I can hit a few nails on a wall until maybe something works, but not be silent. And that's why, I put out videos and I try to catch people, and I want to try to catch their raw emotions so that people can see that, these are people that are hurting. These are not bad people that this is happening to. And, I think the other thing we could do is maybe, I would love to see coordination where we are all hitting the newspapers or the media or the churches, and just continuing to bring it up so that, and I'm not saying it in a vitriolic or violent way, nothing like that, but just say, this is an issue, and address it in a manner that we can be heard. And Randall, if we knew how to do just that, I think that the person who does that would be tremendous. My only, what I try to do, Randall, is anybody who's out there, anybody who has a platform, I will help to support in any way I can. I'm not looking at this for myself. I have nothing attached to my name. This past week, I've driven it. I went from Texas up to Missouri to speak with Mark Ludwig, and Mark Ludwig is a very public figure in Missouri. He's dealing with shared parenting. Back in September, I drove from Texas to Tennessee to meet with Joshua Jones. I've driven down Austin a few times because there are rallies there, and I think that maybe by going there, I can get somebody that maybe for at least their own sphere of influence, maybe it's 10 people, maybe it's 50 people that they know, that they can start to change the public perception about what's going on. And the other thing, Randall, that I am trying to do is support anybody who's dealing with this in a public manner. So for example, Ginger Gentile, she is doing the Erasing Family, erasingfamily.org, that documentary. And I am supporting her the best that I can. There's the Parental Alienation seminar coming up in April in Dallas with Wendy Perry, and they'll have different people there. And I know that they're talking with Rod McCall, who went through his horrendous dealings with CPS and actually saw his son get killed by his ex-wife. When I can, I try to drive people. If I'm going to Austin, I'll try to call some people and say, hey, I'm going down. Can I give you a ride? Whatever I can do to help make my one person become 5 or 6 people, and maybe them become 30 to 50 people, that's the only thing I know how to do. And then there's, like I said, Stephen Krasner. I've been in contact with him. It was interesting with Stephen. He wrote to me about maybe 9 months or so ago, and I don't even know how we met, somewhere on Facebook, but he asked me, do you have stories of these people? And I just put out posts in Facebook groups, and all of a sudden he had about 50 stories. And he's still writing articles because the system is broken, injustices occur. And I'm glad. I will support Stephen 100%. Politically, we're on opposite sides of the aisle, everything else. But you know what? The issue is what? We want these things fixed. And we need to focus on the commonalities that we have together just to deal with the issues.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just, as a pastor's background, I was just wondering because like I said, in fact, I've heard this a lot lately, is that we need to figure out how to change not change the message, but change the delivery.
Yeah.
Right.
So
one thing I've encouraged people, right, and one thing I've encouraged people to do is write their story and let somebody proofread it. Have a small story. Maybe you have like a 5 to 10 page story that you can send to the media. Or Mark Ludwig is putting out these videos on Monday evenings, and he's saying, here's how you talk to legislators. When you talk with them, you need to have a 2-minute story. You need to have a 5-minute story. And then if you get to talk with them longer, a 10-minute story. Keep it brief to the point, but you've got to realize that, you're probably not going to be the person that in one mighty swoop is going to change everything. But you can be a step in the way. And so that's what I try to do as far as helping people. That's the reason that I will, I'll travel several hundred miles to videotape one person in hopes that maybe if I put that person online, that maybe somebody will see it and say this is wrong. And bring awareness and give some resolve to help change things.